everyone. It's a real pleasure to invite you this afternoon to the Place2Be 10-year anniversary celebration event. And of course we have with us many friends and family and people that we've worked with in past and present. It's lovely to have you here with us this evening. Just to start with, obviously I've only been head teacher just for 2 years now, and Rhonda Murtha started in 2009 with this journey, which I heard today actually was only the second secondary school to have Place2Be, so it was a little bit of a trailblazer in that sense. So we started on this journey, and it was in this very room when I was actually interviewed as head teacher. There were about 15 students all sat round in an arch here, and I came in to be interviewed with Mr. Guest and Miss Irwood, and they had just 15 questions to ask me, and one of those would you continue with the counselling and the mental health support in our school? Now clearly we're all here today, so the answer was yes. But what I shared with them, I said, well, I know very much the statistics tell us that probably everyone in this room has in some way been affected by mental health, either personally or from friends and family, and seen the suffering that entails. So in the middle of the interview, I saw the 15 young people. They shook their head towards me and nodded in agreement. We shared quite a poignant moment in my head teacher interview. And it kind of stayed with me how important it is to our young people that they decided one of those 15 questions was important, that we continued that journey. So here we are. And I think particularly we come to celebrate a partnership between our school stewards and Place2Be. It doesn't quite feel like a Place2Be and a stewards. We're very much interleaved with each other. And Nikki asked me today, how does it feel working? What's best? I said, they've just always been there. I know I've been here 18 years, but it just always feels that you've been part of the stewards family, and we've worked very closely together. And more recently, we had an assessor from the Inclusion Quality Mark came to our school, and she was here for 2 days. And she spoke to a number of stakeholders, parents. Miss Irwood, as you can imagine, produced a very comprehensive programme of people for her to speak to. And I most recently got the report back, which was very pleasing, about our inclusive practice here. And you won't be surprised to hear that, in fact, Place2Be was mentioned just 5 times over the 6-page report. So I thought I'd share some of those with you. Element 1, the inclusion values and practice of the school. The report says, well-being of students and staff is a priority for the school, and mentoring and coaching and counselling is available to individuals. Place2Be provides the specialist counselling to students and staff who require it, and it is very well regarded. So that was the first point of mention. Secondly, later on it says, similarly, the Bridge and alternative provision for children who are unable to access the curriculum, along with Place2Be, provide joined up thinking and working in order to meet individual needs. And that's what I was talking about, the way that we very much work side by side as a team together in order to support our young people. Later on, when a discussion was going on with associate staff, our assessor said the following: the Place2Be mental health was mentioned by this team too. They knew that support was there for them as members of staff if they needed it. They saw this as a very positive thing. So again, that support for us as staffs, knowing that we can speak to someone when we need to at a point, has been very important to us. Later on in the report, when they were talking to students, of course, those very important stakeholders, they said, our assessor said that they were very keen to tell me about Place2Be. It provides counselling for students and staff, and they viewed this as a great resource. So again, the students too felt that this partnership was an important one. And lastly, but by no means least, the parents and carers, that interview too. In that, just one single quote sentence: we wouldn't have coped without the support of the school and with Place2Be too. So Place2Be, again, the parents had recognised in those 2 days, 5 mentions no less, but that relationship, and I don't think anything else really indicates that interleaved nature of Place2Be and stewards and how we work together to provide for our young people and make sure that we provide for them so they are healthy and well in every sense of the word to approach their education.
It seems to me that stewards and Place2Be are a real dream team. As Angela said, Stewards was a pioneer secondary school for us, and Keith, where have he gone? There he is, yes, was obviously a real champion and right behind making it work. And Catherine Roche, who's the Chief Executive of Place2Be, couldn't be here today. She was devastated. So she sent me this incredibly long email with loads of things that she wanted me to say. So what she wants to say is massive thanks to Keith for helping us at the very beginning to recruit for a secondary school project manager, and for having faith in us and being willing to work with us to help shape the service. I mean, you know, that was that confidence and faith in us was really, really important, right from the early days of the Harlow Education Consortium, she said. And she's got sort of 3 really strong memories of Stewards. One is Harry and Lucy speaking at the head teachers conference. Is Lucy here? Yes. Yeah. Yes, and which was one of the very first speaking engagements with the Duchess, who's our patron. And apparently you blew everyone away, you and Harry. And the other one was the back to school event, which was one of the key Heads Together launch pads. All the planning, and amazing Marie, and how relieved we were to have those contingency plans for the rain.
Still got soaked.
Anyway, and of course the amazing Sarah Loveday will always be Stewards, Catherine says. It must be in her DNA.
It is, yeah. I think it is.
So we gathered some facts and figures of what's happened here in the last 10 years, since June 2009. And in one-to-one, we have seen 260 children in 3,310 sessions. In brief counselling, we've seen 62 children in 247 sessions, and in Place to Talk, 889 children in 1,624 sessions. And we've also worked, Caroline McSharry, is she here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there, sorry, Carol, has worked with 33 parents in 351 sessions, apparently. So that's a lot of sessions that have happened here. And of course, that doesn't take account of Place to Talk. It doesn't take account of Place for Parents and all of those Place to Think sessions. But I think the key thing, as I was saying, is that it's a great team, a great partnership right the way down the line. So I'm very proud that one of my graduates, I used to run the master's programme at Place2Be, and one of my graduates is about to become your ASPM here, so I'm very proud. Carly, is she here? Hello, Carly! So proud! Yes, so thank you all very much for this amazing tea, and I have to say, the welcome at the door, your students are just lovely and amazing and fantastic. It was just a lovely welcome, so what a great school. And thank you very much for helping Sarah host this.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I was really ill last week, and I didn't think I was going to make today, so I was going to make today regardless, but I do feel a lot better, so if anybody wants to take a seat, I'll be about 2 or 3 hours. No, seriously, Place2Be, therapy. I've been involved in teaching for 43 years, and the most amazing thing about mental health and schools and just the general public that I think is one of the most brilliant things to have happened during my career is that we now are standing in a room talking quite openly, honestly about mental health, and what was said by Helen is absolutely right. There's not one person in this room that hasn't been touched by it personally or actually through family, friends, etc., etc. When I first came into teaching, it would never ever in a million years be mentioned. And it wasn't really until I went to work in a special school for children with social and emotional mental health needs that I first began to wonder what made children, what made them find socialising, learning so much more challenging, fitting in so much more challenging than other children. And it really bugged me, and it set me on a journey to try and find out why and to try and understand my role in working with more complex young people a little bit better. And I think we were one of the first special schools in the end in Essex that started to employ therapists. So of course when I came back to Stewards, because I started my career here, one of the first things I said to Rhonda, who was the present head, was, you know, how much therapy do you have in the school? And she said, oh, you'll have to talk to Marie. She said, we don't have any. I said, why? And she said, well, we've had some very bad experiences. And after talking to Marie and finding out that you know, at those days, in the early days of therapy, there were lots of experiments and ideas that were put around that weren't sound, let's put it that way, and some not very well-trained therapists. But talking to Marie, and I managed to convince you, Marie, didn't I, and Rhonda, and we started off with Young Concern because that was a charity that was offered to us, and Young Concern still work in the school with us, brilliant support. A few years later, Mr. Schultz came to me and said, we have an opportunity to work with this organisation. I know you're up with this sort of thing, Keith. Place2Be. There's a bit of funding available, and what do you think? Rhonda's asked me to ask you, and I said yes. I'd actually just read about Place2Be and how it was developing in the primary schools and looking to come into secondary schools. And that's really where it all started. And it wasn't long after that Mark and I sat on Sarah's interview.
Scary.
It was scary for us, Sarah. We didn't know what we were doing, did we?
Maybe do a horrible
do you remember where it was, Mark? Just along
Yeah.
Block 4, just past
Yeah.
the staff room in the classroom there. Do you remember?
Yeah, very well.
And the rest is history, as it were. That was 10 years ago. The rest is history. And what we could not have asked, you know, it was early days, and we could not have asked for somebody more exceptional than Sarah. One of the things that does always concern schools is whether you can work with an organisation. I've worked with so many outside agencies, and I can say this without reservation. Place2Be is the most effective outside agency I've worked with in my career. They just get it. And if only the government could apply the same sort of structure and organisation to the national health form of therapy, then it would, I know one or two people nodding, it would make it all work so much better. I have stood up and said it many times in, you know, when we've gone to groups to give our feedback about how to make mental health services work more effectively for young people. Well, it needs to be based in schools. It's where the staff working in the schools, the children working in the schools, and the families are connected to the schools. When families have to go miles to a sometimes very cold building, and it's very intimidating, whereas in schools and school-based, those barriers can be broken down. So I just hope that eventually the Place2Be model will be taken on. Sleep. Thank you very much. Service. Anne, where is Anne? Anne, who has, I know, overseen as the service manager the work that goes on. This is the other thing I want to mention. The organisational structure of Place2Be. Worked with outside agencies where there seems hundreds of layers of management, but you never see the management, and it just doesn't seem to make the organisation work more effectively. Having worked with Place2Be for so long and been involved with them, it works perfectly. The structure, the national structure, works perfectly. So big congratulations to them. Obviously, Sarah promoted to cluster manager and oversees it with Kate, I think, isn't it, Sarah? So, you know, in locality-wise, big thank you to them. We've had 3 managers here. Following Sarah was, I'm terrible with names, so I'm going to refer to my, it was Sarah, then Joe. Joe's here actually. Where's Joe? Hey. And Joe was here for a year approximately, Joe, wasn't it? And then went, silly girl, went and got pregnant. And never mind. But just as we were really going well. But well done, Joe, and thank you, because I know you've travelled a long way to be here with us, so thank you very much. With your gorgeous son. Where is he still? Yeah. And finally, Andrea, who has been here 2 years and has been, again, an absolute brick, an absolute stalwart. Supported by, and this is something else we're very grateful to Place2Be for, because we get trainee managers given to us by Place2Be, and that gives us somebody extra to work with the young people, and it's a big bonus that we are extremely grateful for. We are extremely so. Zoe. Hey, where is she? You are here. Heather. Yay, Heather. And Ricardo's not here, but he was another of our assistant managers. The unsung heroes, actually, have we got any of the councillors? Amelia, sorry, yes, Amelia. Where is Amelia? Yeah. Oh, blimey, Amelia, our one we've got at the moment. Sorry, and our councillors. Have we got any of our councillors here today?
We've got our present ones who, well, they finished today, clinical practice finishes today, and we've also got, so we've got Caroline and Manaza. Make yourselves known because you've worked tirelessly this year. And also Lisa, who was one of our councillors as well. So.
I mean, I don't get to know you guys, well, certainly not now because I'm so part-time, but even when I was full-time. These guys just come in, do their work brilliantly, and then go. And it's a volunteer position. And you truly do transform lives. So thank you so much from the bottom of all of our hearts. Who have I missed off? Have I missed anybody out?
Our parent council.
Oh, Caroline! I should remember you, Caroline. I keep blinking Place2Be to get you an award because you thoroughly deserve it. Again, talk about an unsung hero. Quite a few of you, students as well as teachers, will have not missed Caroline because every Wednesday she's walking backwards and forwards all the time across the quad with parents who she is doing some brilliant work with. And that model of supporting the parent with the child, which of course, you know, EWMS, CAMS try to emulate, is one that is a very, very strong model. And thank you for all that work you do, Caroline. Again, you have transformed many lives. So, a brilliant service. I feel very privileged that I've been a little bit of it. I love it. I want it to continue forever, expanding forever until every single school in the country has you full time. In, yeah, not being asked.
You're going to be busy, breaking out in a sweat.
Just a really big thank you for this fantastic service.
Say a huge thank you to Sue Penny, who has made this last week, really, and somehow through the heat of the kitchen she managed to create these amazing cakes. Once our guests have eaten, the hordes of young people are dribbling at the prospect of these cakes. So at the moment they're saved for the guests. So guests, your cakes are waiting for you, so feel free. Thank you, Sue. You're a star. I was the blocker. I have to put my hands up to this. I truly was the blocker of anybody coming into Stewards because I had some very interesting experiences, shall I say. And I said to Rhonda, never again. No, never again. And then we met Sarah, we talked about Place2Be, thought let's try and see, and it's just been a success story. So it's been a real dream team and couldn't say any more. And then in June 2016, Rhonda invited me to this very room and I sat in this very seat for a meeting. And I came into the meeting and it looked like the SAS were here, and I looked around this table at some of these very strange people and thought, good Lord, what is this meeting? Top secret, with people I was not allowed to say an absolute word about, and it was the impending royal visit that we were going to have in September 2016. Mark and I don't go on holiday very often. We actually had a holiday that year, and I spent the whole of our holiday in Croatia on the phone. This is not an exaggeration. How they organise royal visits where they go away for 3 months is a mystery to me. Be interesting to see of the young people here. Put your hand up if you were part of what I always call Team HRH. It's quite interesting. Of the candidates for head boy, head girl, of the 8 candidates, 5 were a part of that team, and I've got Callum, ex-head boy, and Lucy, ex-head girl, who were a big part of that day. I've got Libby here, our current head girl at the moment, and Bradley, our current head boy, who were involved. Bradley's been involved in terms of having been involved with all sorts of things in the school. Libby was speaking on the stage to the Royals. So we've got a lot of people here who've been involved with that special day. That day was memorable. I think if you went around and spoke to staff, hands up if you were here on the day, the rainy day, the rainy Royal day. Well, I think it will probably go down in everyone's memories. Apologies for my background. For one of the most memorable days of our lives, and that was all down to Place2Be. And you know I'm on first name terms with the Queen anyway, but on that occasion I wasn't on first name terms with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. So it was a fantastic day, but it only happened because of our relationship. And I was honoured to be at that conference where Harry and Lucy spoke, and it was mind-blowing, truly. And Callum, I know how much he has valued the work that you do, as has Lucy. So I've asked them to come here today to just say a few words to you. I promise they're not going to say very much, but what they say, every word they say will be pertinent, because Place2Be is all about the children. It's all about the young people and the support we give. And it's really fabulous to see Ben and his family here, and to see Sarah here, and to see Bradley come back, because Place2Be means a lot to them. Stewards, obviously, if you're part of Stewards, you're a stick of rock. It runs through your core, and it will always run through your core. But I think if Place2Be, the way it is with us here, they're both interlinked. You cannot differentiate the two. It's fabulous. So Callum, would you, who's dashed from London from his job, bless him, come all the way here, wants to say a few words to you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
So
apologies on my phone. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a pleasure to be back here after leaving over 2 years ago, and honestly can't think of a more significant reason to be back. Place2Be is an amazing group, and I was so lucky to be a part of a school that had Place2Be as a resource for us all to use. I used Place2Be while I was a student here, and I can honestly say that the continued support I received is what helped me become the man I am today. Using Place2Be is something I've never regretted, as it helps me to regain my confidence and get back to myself again, which resulted in me becoming head boy. So I can't really complain about that, can I? Sometimes people feel there is a stigma attached to asking for or needing help, but Place2Be, that is not the case at all, and I can't stress that enough. Mental health is something that is really important to me. I continue to support various charities in order to raise awareness and increase support for the cause, because it is such an important cause, which is more and more recognised now, which is amazing. I know for a fact I wouldn't have had the confidence to be standing here today if it wasn't for Place2Be, so I have to thank you for that. And they were there for me when I thought nobody else was, which was really good. Anne, who represented Place2Be here at Stewards, was a big part of helping me get back to myself, and I was truly devastated to hear that she had passed, which came as quite a shock to me. I'll be very grateful for the support she gave me, and she will always be remembered by all of us. I would just like to end with a special thank you to everyone at Place2Be who continues to support everyone who needs it, and I hope this will continue for many years to come. So thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lucy, and as you know, I was head girl here from 2016 to 2017. And I know that was quite a while ago now, but it is still something that I am incredibly proud of. I know that if it wasn't without the help and support from Place2Be and Stewards Academy, that I wouldn't be able to do it. I didn't start my secondary school journey here. Instead, I started at the end of Year 7. And I can still remember my first interview with Mrs. Irvin and Mr. Ford, in which I think I mumbled a maximum of 4 words, which were hello, thank you, and goodbye. I never made eye contact, and I don't recall even lifting my head from the floor. I had no confidence, no self-esteem, no self-belief, and nothing. I was put straight into Place2Be, and I began going once a week. This was my time to vent, to express how I was feeling, to laugh, to cry, and to most importantly, be listened to. This was the time that I looked forward to most in my week. I ended up using Place2Be for just over 2 years, and another service for another year. In this time, I learned to be confident, to love who I am, and to express how I was feeling. I'm quite emotional. Sorry. From the skills that I learned here, I have now gone on to achieve so many things. I was head girl, I spoke in front of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge twice, and I now run my own beauty business. Without Place2Be and Stewards Academy, I wouldn't be the strong, confident woman that is standing in front of you today. And I'm so grateful for all of the help and support that you guys showed me. And I really do hope that it does continue. So thank you very much.